Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a historian, as you've heard, and I will try to look as a historian to the issues of globalization and sustainability. And I came here with a big experiment because these are new courses for me, but I thought I have the perfect audience here to address these issues because they are dealing with, we have here an international group, and so the success of my courses very much depends on the participation of as many different nationalities as possible. Globalization is a big issue, of course, and it has very contradictory effects, for example, on nations and regions. On the one hand, you can see, and I'm focusing here mostly on Europe, some 30, or what depends a little bit of how you count, maybe 40 nations striving, aspiring to be part of the global world, and at the same time to keep their own identities, because identity, a distinct identity, unites people to a nation, to each other, to a community. And a distinct identity also sells. Look at regional products, look at distinct identities, cultures, that's a selling advantage. We can see in Europe over the last decades or so, 40 nations striving to more unity and at the same time trying to keep their own identities, whatever that may be. So in my course, the first one, National and Regional Identities in an Age of Globalization, I want to address the issue how and why nations, communities, regions foster their own identity, how they do so, how they have done over the past centuries, because we are going to take, of course, an historical look at these processes. And I want to raise an awareness among you that identity is not a given. The identity of a nation, of a region, is not something innate in people. It has to be developed over time. So identity is a process, and I think it very much ties in with the courses, for example, by Professor Verleen. What I want to do, and I'm looking at Europe mainly, but of course a global comparison is very helpful here. We're trying to look how these identity discourses develop in an age of globalization. Our main focus, obviously, is, as I told you, is Europe, and we are going to look from the perspective of a cultural historian. And a cultural historian is a funny animal because he uses all he can use they can bring from other disciplines. So what we will try to do is to address the issue of nationalism and regionalism from different angles. From a historical perspective, so I will start out to create a common ground of some of the knowledge about nationalism, of the rise of the nation state in Europe, but then we will try to focus or to see how, for example, the issue of identity is looked upon from other disciplines, for example, social psychology and political science. So we will look at this issue as a magpie, picking and choosing from different disciplines. The topics I want to deal with, and this is very much open to debate. It's very much, as I said in the beginning of my talk, on what you would like to do. And of course, it's on your responses. So I made a list of several topics. So we will start with creating an overview of European history, look into the history of the nation state, and then we will look at several topics more. For example, we will look to regions. It's a very odd thing with regions in Europe. Some of them very much supported the rise of the nation state. They really form the building blocks of the nation state. Others, on the other hand, are trying to break away from the nation state. So again, we are dealing here with sometimes very contradictory issues. And I think to understand Europe as it is now, and it will develop in the next future, these topics are very helpful. At some point, a colleague of mine from Tilburg University will join us, and he will give a lecture on the European value study, a cross-national survey trying to establish the differences in values and norms across Europe. The other course is about sustainability, cultural sustainability. You may know that sustainability is mostly addressed from three different perspectives: economy, social sciences, and environment. People, planet, profit, the triangle of sustainability. But there is another model that is sometimes used, and that's to add a fourth dimension, the dimension of culture. What's going on in a globalizing world? Cultures are changing, and sometimes they are changing beyond recognition, and people sometimes feel threatened by it. There's this threat that globalization brings about a more homogeneous society and culture. And what we try to do in this course is, and it's more explorative, and it's more than the other course, it takes more global view, so we will not only look at Europe, but it's very much the aim of the course to look at it from, look at different regions in the world, how cultures are trying to become sustainable. That is, that they take into account their own community and try to, although participating in a globalizing world, to keep the essential things of their own culture. Again, cultural history is the issue here, but we also will look at heritage studies, ethnology, etc. In both courses, it's reading with assignments, so that we have a lot of discussion. We can have a lot of discussion during the classes, and then at some point I will invite you to do some research into a topic. For example, how a movie constructs an identity, or we can look at how a museum is changing its exhibition to address the issue of global sustainability, of cultural sustainability. These are the topics addressed in the second course. And as you can see, it's much more explorative. The first course is really acquiring a lot of knowledge. The second one is more explorative. The last issue, sense of place, maybe I have to say a little word about it. In April, I have to leave for one weekend because I'm involved in a commemoration service in the Netherlands. And it's about trying to create a place of memory for a victim of the Second World War. And this I will try to use in one of my lectures about sense of place and commemoration. How can you get your grades? Of course, participating in the course. Active participation, as I said, is essential, crucial to these courses. Then I give assignments for every class, that is to read the literature and make questions with it, and then there is a midterm presentation, so that as part of writing the paper, so that we can see what you are working on and discuss it together, and then there is the paper at the end, which will give you half of the credits for this course. I hope to see a lot of you, many of you in my courses. Thank you.